as I know. Unless somebody unplugged it, it does.
So Roy, on the sheriff's report, I just put it there, if he's here, he can do that, otherwise. Or maybe later, they'll be here if they can. And I said, I told Greg, I'll just make it right next to the agenda, and if it looks out, it does, otherwise.
Excited.
This would have to go.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
7 o'clock, we'll call this council meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I got one thing to add to the agenda. Lloyd wants to be on appointment D.
So under new business, under new business.
Under old business, he was at D.
D. What's the topic?
Council discussion.
Is there any more
Mayor.
I'd like to also make an amendment to the agenda under reports, section D under public works. It currently reads international, which should be changed to Sterling LT 9511. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll proceed with roll call. Aye.
Michelle Adams.
Brian Lane.
Mark Bronzer. Ben Keel.
We got our city administrator Bart Swanson, our city clerk Wendy Manson, city attorney Andy Platt, city maintenance supervisor Sean Dirks.
Justin Mazza.
Justin, nice back to
Thanks. Online, sorry.
We don't have nothing for open forum. And we'll move on to approval of agenda.
I have a question on the agenda. Can we, the budget, the levy discussion, we'll get to the discussion and then Mark and you.
That's on the agenda.
So, yep, so. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
As amended?
Correct.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Michelle, second by Ben. Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
My vote aye, motion carried 5-0. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda, discussion of items on the consent agenda, action needed.
I asked Mr. Mayor that item 8 be removed from the consent agenda.
Item A was removed to D. Is that what you want?
You can put it there.
I have a question.
I need clarification on that.
Yeah.
On what?
So on the consent agenda, item A is city council meeting minutes.
That's the minutes, yeah. And
Right.
on the minutes, item G, it's not correct.
Well, we can discuss it right now during consent agenda, that's
All
fine.
right, that's when we discuss it.
Or are you gonna take it up and change it now?
We have to approve that. We have to discuss it and then get
Yeah,
clarification
well,
on it.
okay.
I don't know what
We
you're
can talk
talking about.
It don't make any difference to me, but in here, it doesn't say half of what was said in your discussion. And I just wanted to make sure that everything gets it.
What page you on, Mike?
What page?
Where are you at?
9, item G. That's on the minutes of the last meeting. Seems to me that there was a little bit more spoken than just that.
Well, as a rule, I don't usually add a lot of discussion in minutes. Mostly they're legal minutes that include the motion. So I don't put a lot of discussion in. Now, if the city council wants more, I can do that. It's up to you.
Well, I would like to see more of this one. The exact words, everything that was said.
Well, I don't do verbatim minutes. I never have. That'd be like a court reporter.
Well, I would think we could have better minutes than this.
It's up to the city council.
The minutes that are in there is the motions that were made, all opposed, all in favor.
Yeah, but there was
Discussion
a lot more said than that.
Right,
My name was mentioned and it's not in there.
right, but when you get down to clarifying the minutes, it's just basically, the discussion that was had, if there was a motion made, and which way the motion went, in favor or not in favor of my client.
how we have done that, yes.
I do have a question on the minutes, though, on page 8. The resolution, the special meeting that's held, about the expiration date on mailing. That clarifies, so like, say I asked you to mail me the packet, right? And you have to inform me
This is
when
for,
the year comes out. I'm just saying, I'm just using that as an example.
yeah, but this is for meeting notices, not
Like
the.
special meetings. like-
So, yeah, so when, for instance, if we were gonna have a special council meeting next week, I provide that to a couple people.
Right.
So if this was passed, so they should receive notice that November 1st, if they want that to continue, they need to let me know.
Okay.
But that's not the minutes,
Right.
that's just meeting notices.
Yeah, okay. I also have a question then for Wendy. Accounts payable, page 11, Bob Mobley, the rock engraving for $496. I know that was discussed at staff meeting, but was that discussed at council, full council?
No, it's been on the list for 4 or 5 years, so we just went ahead and did that because it is part of that garden landscaping for the front yard.
Okay, I just didn't remember if we had a full council, okay. That's all I have.
Is there anything else?
No.
We need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion to approve consent agenda. Discussion?
Need a second?
Wait.
I'll second. Can we have discussion? So, there, Lloyd, is that clarified, or are we going to take A out of the consent agenda? I was not.
No, that's what I wanted to think.
You want,
That's,
you want
The
more
way
minutes
it's done.
put in, you want more minutes put in the west
oh,
side
no,
of the city council.
it'll be brought up somewhere. No, I think we have final discussion.
So, A is staying in the consent agenda.
Yeah, go ahead.
Motion by Michelle, second by Mark. Johnson, how do you vote?
No.
Dan?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
How did you vote, Mr. Mayor?
No.
Thank you.
Motion carried, 3-2. Grant County Sheriff's Report, there's no deputy here, so we have nothing there. Move on to City Department Commission committees.
I think I'm up here, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We've had, this is the code of conduct ordinance, starting at page 15 through 17 of the packet. And we had a work session on this last month, and I was directed by the council to put the code of conduct final ordinance in final form for your discussion this evening. The version that was in your packet, the work session, it's largely the same as this version now. I'll highlight the few changes that I made. So I don't know, I'm happy to discuss whatever you want to on the entire ordinance. I'll just highlight the changes that were seen for the work session. certainly, I can answer questions on anything. The first, section 26.01 and 26.02 are the same, and largely these follow what is already provided for in state statute, with some more flavor and some more applicability to Montrose city council members, planning commission members, any of your committees, staff, full-time, part-time staff, volunteers acting on behalf of the city. Section 26.03 is sort of the complaint and hearing process. And my notes here. One of the change for your, since from the work session for your consideration is that anyone certainly may file a written complaint with either city staff or a city council member, and then it's considered pursuant to the process in this section 26.03. The person would need to put their name and address on the complaint. That's subject to the Data Practices Act, which in certain cases makes contact information like that private information. So we're just doing that to avoid anonymous complaints. The other thing here, and then I also broke it into paragraphs from what you saw in the work session document, so it's flows a little bit more a little bit easier. The second paragraph is the same. That talks about how the personnel committee would hear the complaint and take testimony from the people involved. The third paragraph then is pretty much the same as well. I changed, there was kind of in the middle of that paragraph, if it gets to the city council level and the council must decide whether to continue to hear the complaint, you have a 45-day window to do that after it's been heard by the personnel committee. In the prior draft, that was a 30-day window, and I thought sometimes with scheduling and stuff, it might be hard to hit that 30-day window, or at least have enough time, so I put a little buffer in there of time. And then, let's see here, just looking at I added a paragraph at the end saying that if a complaint is filed against a member of the personnel committee or the city council, that person is not prohibited from voting on the merit of the complaint. Sometimes you might have a bunch of people who would be recused from voting on a complaint, and that could leave you with almost like less than a quorum to vote on it or something like that. Just wanted to avoid situations like that if you have a wide range of complaints. So, but certainly this is up for your discussion and revision and up or down vote. It's as I've said before at the work session, this would replace your current ethics ordinance in your city code. It would truncate everything a little bit, make it a little bit briefer. This comes from the League of Minnesota Cities model document. So it's certainly used in other cities, tweaked to each city's circumstances, of course. But it's a pretty standard document that hasn't come out of left field. This is a template. That's about it, I guess. I'm open for questions.
I do have a question. In here, on the third paragraph, you said you changed it from 45 days was 30 days. I realize that you're thinking, conflict of scheduling, but if there's a complaint, I think it needs to be in a timely manner, and 45 days is kind of a long time.
Yeah, I guess it's a 45-day maximum amount. So if the personnel committee would forward the complaint to the council, you'd have a 45-day window. So if your next meeting is within a couple weeks, then you can certainly hear it there. I'm happy to change back to 30 if that's what everyone would like. No big deal with me.
What if it just said that it'd be dealt with as soon as possible, not to exceed 45 days or something like that?
Yeah, I guess I was trying to get out of if you had a personnel committee meeting a few days before a city council meeting, depending on your schedule, you probably wouldn't have enough time for everything. But
Because the personnel committee meetings are usually the opposite weeks of a council meeting, so there's always, meeting every week, per se. So I think 45 days is kind of a long stretch.
I could change it to as soon as possible, not to exceed 30 days.
I think that would be fair.
Mark a question. Seeing that I'm sure that you're the one that brought this up, right?
No, but I do agree with the fact that the complaint process that we have right now automatically starts an investigation. And the last investigation that was filed by complaint automatically kicked in. That cost the taxpayers over $8,000.
Almost $9,000.
So if there's,
So this, in other words, this is just another way to make sure that
there's just a
nobody
filter,
gets
there's a filter. Well, I can see your point, and there.
Yeah, because now you're gonna go to the personnel,
So if there-
committee, you and Michelle,
If
they're
there,
like two peas in a pod.
if there was a disgruntled resident that decided that every month he was gonna file a complaint, that automatically triggered an investigation.
No, I think it has to go through the attorney first.
Andy, can you step in and explain what the investigation, what the rules as they exist right now?
And
Require you to
really and truly, should we be talking about this? Because this is confidential. It's still open, I understand.
It's not confidential. What,
If there's a complaint,
what are you supposed to do?
the way I understand your city code now is it will be submitted to my office, and in my office, not me necessarily personally, will immediately investigate the complaint. That's what we did with the last one. And my employment lawyer, as you know, and you've all met him, investigated that and prepared a pretty lengthy report on that. We feel that's our responsibility under the ordinance to do that.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think, personally, if you get a complaint lodged to you, you think if it's just a frivolous complaint, that you can just go ahead and make a lawyer's call on it? Or because of the statute, the way it is, what are you required to do?
Well, I guess I would say, I don't think I have the discretion on my own to decide whether something's frivolous or not.
So you are, the way what I'm trying to say, Lloyd, is the way that it's written now is regardless what you think or I think or Andy thinks, that investigation takes place to the fullest extent.
Well, usually people wouldn't bring up a frivolous complaint.
In most
You would
cases.
hope, you would hope that they would, right?
And the reason why I question it is because Michelle Otto here told me that the only reason why you guys had to spend time and money in doing this was because of Roy and I.
That's amazing, considering I don't speak.
That is amazing that.
Considering we don't
You're
chat,
gonna
but
deny that? That might be on tape.
do we have any more discussion on this?
And then let's talk about censure.
We're on the attorney's code of conduct.
It's still in there, it's in there.
Censors in this?
Yeah, what's the definition of censure?
Censure was it's just mentioned at the bottom, 4 lines up from the second last paragraph there on page 16, as an example of what the council could do after the end of an investigation to take action on something.
Or if they felt that it wasn't, they could censure that person, right? Compared to the personnel committee?
Well, that's really fact specific on each complaint.
That's why we should have a better definition there about censure, because, like you say, sometimes they don't mean nothing.
Censure
You
can
know,
be a
it's just,
symbolic
just
gesture.
a word use, but that's what we done, the definition of that is, you know, like, being not able to speak at the organization, no pay, no say, just one the chair. So we have a quorum. And by putting it in there, then it would be for everybody, not just
self-explanatory. It just lays out what the city council. can
Yeah,
do.
but censure, that can mean anything. What I want is, we should, if we're gonna make up a new ordinance, let's have, when a person is censured, what's the predict, what's gonna happen to this person, think everything's gonna happen to this person, nothing's gonna happen. You think that's too much to ask of there?
That's up to the council's will on whether you want to define that, and then if it is defined,
I doubt if they'll go along with that.
well, if it is defined, that would be consistent then on every single member, not just council, but your other boards. You can't really censure a employee, I suppose, but there are other, it says, also says, or take other disciplinary action against the person. That's kind of the catch-all phrase at the end of that sentence. So it's meant to be fairly broad.
What do you think, Mark? Should we tighten it up?
What are your suggestions? I'm at a loss for.
Well, if
If
we're gonna censure somebody, and if it's on the council or a city deal, then he'll have no say at the council meeting, so he'll have no vote. And maybe no pay. But they'll have to be there in order to mark the chair and the quorum.
I don't think you can regulate, I think they have to be allowed to vote.
Is that possible?
That's correct. The voting privileges would be able to be stripped away on a censure motion.
But no discussion and no pay.
Correct.
That's correct. So, but vote yes. I got nothing wrong with that.
And you want to add it, voting or what?
Yeah, they're gonna change it, right, Mark?
I don't know.
You have to approve it. You have to ask council to.
Well, I know council won't approve it because you three are the ones against it.
You don't know what I'm going to vote, which way I'm going to vote,
Oh.
yes or no. Because, you know.
I'll write it down.
Okay, don't ever assume you know what I'm gonna do, because nobody knows what I'm gonna do. That's a given right there. Secondly, I do agree with, if you're gonna be censored, the whole point of censoring is the whole discussion portion of it. We can't take away the voting right. That's obvious. You can't take away the position that they're in, you can't take away a voting right. So, do you know how I'm gonna vote there, Mr. Johnson?
Go right ahead.
So we need a motion to approve this then, for,
No, there's multiple changes that need to be made before we
to
can
be
approve it.
changed, no discussion and no pay.
Well, first change is changing it from 45 days to 30, 30 days or less.
As soon as possible, not to exceed.
See, 30 days. That's the first change. The second change is then with the censorship, having it be no pay and no say, you just allow to vote.
I guess you can't take the voting rights away.
What about,
Full discussion. Which, if they're on a board, will they have the right to discuss? I mean, if it's a board member, if it's a commissioner, an appointed position, the council has the authority to remove that person. But if it's a council member, the censure is really the only means. So that would apply to the commissioner. So.
Well, okay, so planning commissioner, you could also do the same censure, but you could go further and remove that person. So I could
Break
wordsmith
out.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
For your other commissions, yeah, they can be removed.
It says that, it says remove. Further down, it says remove such person from an advisory board or commission, so it already talks
It's
about.
already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm picking up on where Lloyd is going. Let's just say a member of the personnel committee is censured. Or one of us is a liaison to another committee. How does the censure file down to that application?
And you're at the discussion period of considering whether censure is a defined term that then must be applied equally in every single situation that you have censure, or do you have an opportunity to use your discretion to censure a person with parts A, B, C in one censure and then parts A, B in another censure, do you know what I mean? So one censure isn't the same as every other one. That's what I think you have to decide. Seems like Councilmember Johnson, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but wants to create a uniform definition of censure that will be then used the same way on every single person that's subject to it.
That's what.
And what you're saying then is you can't really compare each situation the same.
I mean, if you wanted to censure somebody with a personnel committee or a planning commission, you could say they can't discuss the issue, they can vote, they can't discuss, and they don't get paid. And that could be the same for everybody. However, you could go further with the subcommittees and remove that. So whether you put that in your censure motion or not, I don't know. That's up to your decision.
I think we're gonna end up in different things that, you know, would be the same for different percents.
We'll probably have to table this until it gets.
You know, I guess adding on to that is, a censure could still be consistently no say, no pay, but then you can do censure plus removal for your subcommittees, and that's just a case-by-case determination. So censure could be consistent in that.
You can't terminate a elected official.
Right. You can't.
Wasn't censure a rather broad term that
Absolutely.
encompasses all of that?
Censure can be whatever the board wants it to be.
Yeah, and so there it can change for each individual.
Well, the
That's
circumstance can change as well. Would you agree?
What's that?
The circumstance can change too.
Well, yeah, that maybe, but evidently if you're going to censure somebody, the circumstances have already been established.
So anybody else have anything? Make these changes?
That's another thing, you know, with ordinances, we add ordinance or change them, but we don't enforce the ordinances we got. You know.
You want to change this now, or we go into what's October? Make a motion now to hold this
You need to speak up in your mic, it's not gonna pick up out here.
no pay, no discussion. This ordinance.
I don't have a problem adding that into the censure language, if that's what the council wants. I don't have a problem. If, I don't understand exactly what it's looking for more than that, other than because people are in different committees and do different things, so.
Well, this would probably, you know, not allow them to be on committees either if they can't have a voice.
That's where I'm you're going, so, you know, if that's, I discussion. Or, and like you said, you think that it's already predetermined, so I don't understand what you mean there, but.
Well, to me, everything's gonna be different. If you're gonna censor somebody, it could be on different problems, and not the same problem all the time with the same person.
Sure.
I can certainly make some red line changes and put it in the next packet. Because there might need to be some discussion if I get the changes right based on the intent of the discussion. I think I pretty much know what the intent is, but I want to make sure that everyone agrees with it, or at least everyone agrees that that's the intent, you can vote the way you want it.
You know, just like I would see there, well, Ben and Michelle in the last meeting are guilty of that one right there. She censured for that.
Where are you at now?
See,
On page 15? Is that right?
yep.
I use special privileges.
Well, no, but the statements that you made at the last council meeting, you and Ben against the mayor.
And what statement did I make in specific that you're feeling that is in violation of this?
Well, we'd have to wait a day to get exactly.
No, I want to know if you brought it up.
So if you brought it up, you have one in mind that I made, and I'd like to know. Because I
Well,
made,
okay, Michelle maybe said it, but you seconded it.
What did I say? How did I
About,
use?
you know, the mayor slang banging the city and that kind of stuff, and,
He didn't second that.
huh?
He didn't second that.
no, I didn't second that. I spoke from firsthand experiences, so there was no seconding there. There was no need for seconding because I spoke from firsthand experiences in my experience being in the public.
And what did you say?
I said that I've encountered people that have said that Mr. Mayor has, they stated that every third to fourth word out of his mouth was a cuss word, and that that when he was at some other organizations, that there was negativity about our city coming from him.
But it was all accusations, you never talked to anybody personally.
The person that I talked to was a person that was there and did experience it, and they talked to me directly, yes.
Because I'd like to, I've been trying to do some investigating, trying to find out who said it, and I can't, so I need the name.
You're more than welcome to go over to that city council. I'll discuss it with you, and you can go talk to them, yes.
But anyway, that's a thing that shouldn't, that's a personal attack in my book. And it's just because of election probably, but because it's been going on for months and nothing ever was said until now, all of a sudden, election's coming up and you both are running. So this is to put a little feather in your hat or something?
No, actually,
For you
it's not.
guys to benefit from it, well, you would.
Okay.
Mayor and council.
So that's why.
Considering where we are on the
Yep,
agenda,
I
I think
think
we
we're-
need to be careful with your discussion here.
So Andy, if you could make the changes on this, probably in 30 days and what Mr. Johnson would like, bring it back in October.
I will.
Thank you.
Ray County Sheriff, you got anything to report?
No, I don't. I can give a quick update if you want. Council members, Mayor, and guests. My name is Chris Grove, a deputy sheriff at the Wright County Sheriff's Office, and I work the town on a regular basis. I don't have anything new or significant to report since the last council meeting, other than after Montrose Days, there wasn't a significant amount of bad activity in the town. A lot of people that were having a good time and managed to make it home one way or another. That got cleaned up pretty well. Since then, there hasn't been anything significant in the town that we've been having to watch over or clean up. It's been a lot of the business as usual, same old, same old. The only thing I'll point out is if anyone sees me a lot in the Montrose C-store parking lot, it's for a couple of reasons. He's had some problems with people stealing gas from his trucks. In addition, I have really good reception on both my phone and my computer in that lot, so I've been sitting there typing away my reports. But other than that, I really don't have anything significant.
I got one question. Now, some people see somebody speeding and stuff like that. If they write down the license number to all the sheriff department, can you go after this person, or you gotta see what's going on?
It's gonna vary from situation to situation. If that person was to be written for speeding, it would be on the basis of the person calling in the complaint. So what's the training of that person calling in the complaint? What's their reasoning for the observation? And if I was to write a ticket on their behalf, they would be the one called into court.
Or it'd be just like a citizen's arrest?
Yes, that's correct.
We've been getting complaints from people speeding in the neighborhoods. And so what's the best course of action? I was told that one time, call dispatch and file a complaint, and then, they'll get it to you guys, and you guys will have.
Yes, and depending on the neighborhood, I can tell you, we've had several reports. Are you talking about Emerson or on 6th Street? We've got a lot of reports of people through that area that are speeding. I can tell you it's not happening during the times that I'm in the area, so it's probably earlier in the day. If someone could give us good info as to what kind of vehicle it is, even if they can't get a plate, and if they have like a good time frame, it's easier for us to follow up that way. Like if, for instance, if you know it's occurring between 7 and 8 in the morning, because they're heading to work and they always go 90 miles an hour through there, that's a good way for us to be able to track them for work. Absolutely.
So then those requests through dispatch would then constitute more neighborhood patrols, or would get you out there looking for a specific target?
Yes, exactly. What we probably do is put up something on our deputy forum. It's kind of our internet board that we have, and it would say, hey, extra patrol during this time for these reasons in this location. And that way, anyone that works the town would be able to see it. It's really nice because instead of just me knowing the other cars that just are there for the day, if, say, for instance, I call in sick, someone just working the town who's never worked there before could pull up the board and see it. So we do have a board that we can put extra patrols on.
You might have to use an unmarked in that area, so nobody knows.
That's actually been discussed frequently before. So if that continues to be the problem, we can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Do you know how many, do you have a breakdown? I know you're one shift as opposed to the other, but how many, is there a difference between the daytime contacts that turn into like a citation or in the nighttime as far as our coverage goes?
I can't answer that question very well. My administrators could. I can tell you that it does vary from deputy to deputy. Some are more inclined to write traffic citations, others are not. It kind of depends on what they're doing. Is that kind of the answer you're looking for?
Yeah, well, I'm looking for contacts too, because sometimes, just contacts they don't turn into citations.
Yep. My administration can give you any breakdown that you need. It might take some time to get the numbers together because depending on the verbiage that you need for what you determine as a contact, it might take a little while to get the paperwork, but yes, they can tell you what the breakdowns are and what's going on in the town at certain times of day.
So, like, talk to Greg, or who would be best to?
Greg would be the best.
Okay, all right.
And he'd either be able to do it himself or he'd point you in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you.
You guys still give us the reports too, right? I haven't seen that.
I have one on my desk to me, I just got it, I was gonna make copies this afternoon,
Oh,
but didn't get it done tomorrow morning.
okay.
That's like a quarterly report we get.
That's what I thought, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll move on.
Yep.
have nothing?
Well, I've got a question for Ben, because I made some notes here, so just bear with me.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Your monthly activity states that you attended a chamber meeting.
Correct.
No one has been appointed to the chamber yet by the
Correct.
council.
Correct.
And I would caution you that until an
I would
appointment is
know.
made,
Oh.
bear with me for
Okay.
just a second. You don't represent the council in any official capacity. So any statements or discussions that you participated in with the chamber could be viewed as a code of conduct violation. Unless you were there as a private invited citizen.
I was there as a representative of Craft Pattern and Mold, which my company is a member of the chamber, and Tony was unable to go. I went as a representative of my company, not as a representative of the city council.
Okay, then I would
And I
ask,
did make that clear when I was there. I said, yes, I'm a city council member, but I was there as a representative of my company, because Tony was not able to go.
then I would ask that you remove it from your activity report.
Okay.
Or,
I can do that, I can do that.
see my point?
Oh, yep, I see what your point is. Yep.
Now I got one question for you too, Ben.
Yes.
How did you happen to get in on a personnel meeting?
I was asked, because Mr. Kratzer was unavailable to go to that meeting.
Who asked you? Mark did? No. Mark, don't you think that that should have went through the mayor first? Well, if you knew you couldn't have been there, shouldn't you have contacted the mayor and say, can you cover for me or appoint somebody to attend that meeting?
Actually, that's on me. When I asked his could be application or whatever reason he couldn't come, I asked him if I could contact Ben and have him come to the meeting.
Well, we
You asked
initially-
Roy that?
We initially
No.
canceled.
You asked Ben?
Initially canceled, right?
I don't really remember.
And I know that I wouldn't even consider asking Roy, because Roy won't go to City Hall by himself, correct?
Well, I've been doing it now.
Great. So,
Yeah, I've been
to
trying-
answer your question, I would not have,
I've been trying to get on that committee for a year. How come I wasn't asked?
You don't ever talk to me,
Honest opinion?
or you don't, the mayor doesn't talk to me. So I asked Ben because he communicates with me.
That would have been my statement, because when we go into the personnel committee meetings, it's, discussion of things that are going on with the city. It's a productive meeting, and Roy has stated many times that he's not comfortable attending the meetings without somebody being there with him.
Well, you'd have been there.
Right, but he doesn't trust me, so therefore there's nobody there with him. So we're going to bring in Ben, who is equal and fair in all direction, pretty much, you know?
I've been at City Hall up there signing papers and that stuff up there. Mark walks by and I say hi, and she says hi back. Then one day we were up there talking at the window and stuff like that.
well, is there a way that we could have a discussion quickly about if one of us can't make it again, that there be a rotation, you know, Lloyd next, then Roy, or do we want to talk about having to go through Roy to have him appoint somebody to, you know, be the
Well, I would
second?
say go through Roy because he's the part of the council.
Do we have any sort of an ordinance or anything about this that states if someone is not able to attend their position, is there a certain thing that they have to do, go to someone, or can they appoint someone themselves to go in their behalf?
There's a couple of committees we have alternates on, but we don't for the personnel.
Okay.
Any more comments?
I got a couple other questions. I was gonna ask Mark too about, he always used to make a sly remark about if I forget to turn a report
Well, where's Johnson's? Like he's worried about me. Maybe he was worried that I was gonna have too many more meetings than he did or something, but, and I don't think he can say that he hears me going around boasting, oh, I make $400 a month or $500 a month.
You asked me a question as to why I asked about that.
Yeah.
You want to hear the answer?
I can answer that.
I thought,
You gotta give me the answer.
common respect to the people of Montrose, you would give them your activity report and turn it in, not only to the people of Montrose, but to the rest of the council, because we're required to do it.
But you don't hear me go around boasting about how much I make.
No, I don't,
Nobody
never.
does do that.
I've never heard anyone do that.
I've heard somebody do that. You never told that to anybody, Mark?
No.
Mark would be the
If
last
I
person to do that.
if I have, bring that person here right now.
Okay, I might do that.
Great.
Just on Mark's defense here, I'll tell you right now that, a lot of the things that he does do is free of charge. You know, so, Mark would be the last person who is going to boast to the city how much money he's made, because he is probably the most one who's financially aware of what goes on in the city and spending the city's money. So, I think that statement was pretty uncalled for, because I can tell you right now that Mark would not be the one that would be doing that.
Maybe then you should make a motion that we only get paid from the council meetings.
We've had the discussion, we can't do anything on that kind of stuff until the new council is appointed.
No, we can lower, but we cannot raise. So if,
Yeah.
we can set a limit saying, you know, that a council member would only make, you know, say $100 a month, and the mayor would make $180 a month or $200 a month. We can lower at any point in time, but we cannot raise. If we do make a motion to raise, it does not take effect until the next election.
So we might change it tonight.
Correct.
That's not
We
on the
would
agenda.
have to have it on
It's
the
not
agenda.
on the
It's not on the
agenda.
agenda.
Well, it'll be a part of my discussion.
Okay, but correct, if it,
Now, another thing about, you didn't put it on your activity report, was the parade.
Me? Correct.
Why didn't you put it on there?
I was out of town. And
You were in the parade.
That's correct, I was in the parade, but when this was filled out, I was out of town. And I did not put it in there. If you notice on here, I did sign it, but I asked if Wendy could just fill in that I was at the council meeting and the personnel meeting.
Okay, the reason why I asked that is I don't think it was a right thing to do to have the city and the taxpayers pay for you to campaign.
I don't charge for it, so what are they paying for?
Well, you rode in the city pickup, passing out brochures.
Yes, but even if I
Do you
rode,
think that's a good thing to do?
I rode in the parade, handing out candy, and even if I did, I don't charge the city for that.
It don't make
And
any
it's-
difference, you shouldn't be in the city vehicle campaigning.
I was not campaigning, I was
You
standing
had
next to
two
the
girls
truck.
passing out leaflets. Gee,
Oh,
Roy,
it's
Roy,
sad.
I was right there.
Right, outside of the truck, I was not, the city did not pay
They
for
got
it.
pamphlets from you. You were sitting in the truck, is that right, Ben?
Correct. I'm not gonna deny that there weren't people out passing out information on me, exactly.
Where
But
did
that
you
was
get it?
not coming from me out of the truck, that was not coming from me as a city rep, and it's not on here, and it's not charged to the city.
No, I know that, but the city pays for the job it pays for.
Correct.
Deal, but, so you should be charged for that.
I can't tell if this is a complaint being filed or a question on the score of the council sheet. I mean, we have to make sure we're on the council sheet discussion here. You know.
Well, we're on the reports.
So any other complaints,
Any other discussion?
discussion? Discussion on anything?
I just have one, and that is on, Roy's, that talked to Sean regarding the truck of purchase. Sean talked to each and every one of us about the truck as is that's just city business that should be conducted. And I feel that we should not be charging for that.
I talked to Sean about different things besides the city truck while I was up there. Discussed other problems that was going on and what should be done. And we discussed it, that's why. And Sean called me to come over there.
Right, Sean talked to each of us about it. Okay, that's all I need, because I mean, if that's what if you're saying you want to talk to Sean about the truck,
Yeah,
then,
and
but if
all-
other things were discussed, then other things were discussed.
Also, at the last meeting, you attacked him about going to this deal up in Buffalo,
Mhm.
open house. You shouldn't have charged for that. Roy, I didn't see you charging for mileage on that.
I would hope not.
Well, when somebody gets invited to represent the city, don't you think that that's a good thing?
Absolutely,
But then why would you penalize the guy for going?
because you don't charge the city to go to an invite. That, I'm not gonna charge these guys $50 because I was invited to an open house. That's spending the taxpayers' dollars when you don't need to. It's an honor that Mr. Henry was accepted to go to that. Absolutely, go to
But I
it.
don't
But don't
think
in
he needs
return
to be
spend it.
personally attacked then.
That's what
See,
this
you leave you
discussion
should
is
leave
for.
those personal attacks away from the,
It's not a
Council
personal
meeting.
attack, Lloyd. It's the taxpayers' dollars. The taxpayers should not pay for a personal invite. That should be Roy going as an honor to go because he's been invited. I'm not gonna charge the taxpayers because I went to a social gathering.
I'm gonna change the tape.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Ready?
Yes.
So is there any more discussions?
I do not have any.
No more? And then we'll move on to engineering update on regional park.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to give you a real quick update. Just wanted to let you know I contacted the Corps engineers, I'm sorry, not the Corps, the National Guard twice since our last meeting. I told them, informed them that the city did want to move forward with a formal request for services. I finally received a response back, an email back from them on Friday. And basically sent me to a website with a bunch of forms on it and said there's no specific form for this type of service. So to contact the person on the bottom of the website. So I sent out an email to the person on the bottom of the website on Friday, and that's where it sits. So I haven't had a real good response yet. Haven't really had any indication yes or no, but that's where we're at. So I will continue to pursue it. If I don't hear back in a couple of weeks, I will send out another email or make another call. So that's it.
Thank you, Justin.
Do you think that, along those lines, do you think that Charlie might have connections? Because he initially brought it up at our meeting for that he might know somebody in the
National Guard.
guard and
Well, I think, yeah, he's in Navy, I mean, reserves.
So,
Oh, he's got all.
I'd be happy to give him a quick call or send him an email and see if he's got a specific contact. If you'd like me to.
yeah, through the truck.
Yep.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, we'll move on to public works. John?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. for your consideration, which is the authorization to purchase a used plow truck. Brief little history on why we were looking at this. Discussion was brought up, probably late spring. Last couple winters have been real taxing for our current equipment. And discussion was brought up, maybe either purchasing a used truck or speccing out a new truck. And so I was in the process of looking at speccing out a new plow truck for the 2015 budget. And looking at the prices of new trucks, they can go from range anywhere from $220,000 to $330,000. And it's just astronomical on how they can charge that kind of money for new equipment. So in the process of doing that, I came across on the website for Boyer Trucks, their used equipment, and found that they had 6 Dakota County trade-ins that they were selling at the time. And that was 2 weeks ago, Thursday afternoon. Went down there Friday and looked at them, and by Friday at noon they were all sold. So time was of the essence of this. We did put a small retainage deposit down on this truck to hold it to the council meeting so they wouldn't sell it away from us. This truck is like I said, it's a used Dakota County plow truck, 2002 with 135,000 miles on it. It is in excellent shape. The black and white photographs in the packet, pages 23 through 38, do not do it justice. However, it costs a fortune to print out color copies. I do have a set of color copies here if anybody wants to look at them. And this truck is available at the purchase price of $69,900 plus tax and some transfer fees. So we're looking for tonight is a motion from the council to add this to our fleet. I think would be a great addition. Currently, if we look at a significant snowfall, 8 to 12 inches, my crew is in here anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. Doesn't matter if it's on a Sunday, Christmas Day, Friday night, whatever. Just with the addition of this, we'll significantly reduce overtime. Our current plow truck is a single axle Sterling that was purchased new in 2005 at the price of $133,000. It currently has 30,000 miles on it, but they're very well earned miles. We have put that truck through his paces, let me tell you. Being that said, the addition of this is a tandem axle. It's pretty much twice the truck of what our current single axle is, and it would alleviate the pressure off the use of the single axle. Heaven forbid, we were in January and we took a transmission blowout in our single axle. It would definitely put us in a tremendous bind. And we're looking at seeking council approval to purchase this truck today. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
And where in the budget is this coming from?
It would be purchased on cash on hand. Cash reserves.
Wendy and Sean and I have looked through the budget, and looked through, we have ample funds to pay for this truck.
It'll save us time and it'll save us overtime that we pay out. And it's got the hydraulic blade that goes underneath it for easier for scraping the streets, and the sander on the back. And we can haul twice as much with that truck, and it'll save on our payloader and a couple other vehicles.
Yeah, another little tidbit, the payloader will be be 2 years old next month, and there's already 1,000 hours on it, so it's been used quite often too, so.
So I make a motion to approve this. It will help us in the long run and save the city some money.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Lloyd. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Sean. Old business. Appointments. Discussion.
I mean, council, last month's council agenda contained item F, city council quorum discussion, listed under new business. I was told that because of some outbursts or loss of control of order at recent council meetings by the mayor, our city attorney was going to have this decorum discussion and instruct us to proceed as far as not the mayor, how to end a meeting that has lost control. However, that was not what happened, and which at this time I deeply regret. What happened next, in my opinion, was a personal attack on the mayor. Exactly like the previous outburst that I thought warranted the decorum discussion, which we were supposed to have. This attack, with a motion and a second, for the removal of the mayor from the chamber and planning and zoning appointments from the 2 council members that I have since found out are running against him for mayor. Because of this and the fact that the appointments weren't even on the agenda, I should not have participated or allowed the motion to even take place. So this time, I make a motion to reconsider that motion. Is that correct, Mr. Ronaldo?
That's correct. Councilmember Kratzer was on the re-vote side, if I recall correctly, at the last meeting, so to sponsor a motion for reconsideration, it has to be made by somebody who was on the majority side of the last vote. And the motion to reconsider requires a second and a vote. And then you can vote on the underlying motion.
So the motion has to be made by one of those three.
The motion's
I
been
make a
made.
motion to
Mark made the motion.
reconsider. That means basically roll that back.
So, yeah, well, why don't we just
Yeah.
make it so that we replace them back on?
That
Or do we have to?
That would be after the
That's the
reconsideration.
discussion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Motion by Mark, second by Lloyd, to bring back on chamber, please.
No, to reconsider the
Okay,
motion.
reconsider.
Dan, how do you vote?
I would just want to make sure I'm understanding this. This is the motion to, we're just rolling back to have more discussion about this, correct? In essence,
If you vote for this motion, you are reopening the discussion that was voted on
Okay.
the last.
okay, yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carried 5-0.
Can I start? Do you mind? Anybody? Okay. So, like you said, at last month's meeting, I made the motion to remove Mr. Henry from, I did talk about the chamber and the planning and zoning, but my main concern was the chamber as, and that is said because as we sat here and discussed things with Roy that evening, he said the chamber was a joke pertaining to where the meetings were held, that they were held at the bar. I then in turn asked him, if he had discussed with the chamber members, maybe moving the meeting places or anything like that, and he stated that he did not. So all he could say was that the chamber's a joke. So with that being said, I don't think that Mr. Henry should be on that as a representative, because if he feels that way, then maybe somebody else should be in there who can conduct better business. But for the planning and zoning, and since I did mention planning and zoning, I think Roy's fine as planning and zoning, because he does have a lot of knowledge on that. So that was my mistake on the planning and zoning, but I'm still sticking by my chamber.
Well, I found out today, Michelle, a lady that the chamber hired for businesses in town, she quit, she resigned. And Joe at the bank hasn't been to 3 meetings, and Sarah, the chiropractor in Waverly, hasn't been to 3 meetings. You've got 2 or 3 people that come and nothing's discussed.
And the people that run the garage, they haven't been going to meetings either.
Well, yes, and I do, we did have good discussion, and you are correct that Sarah from Waverly did not attend the full meeting. She came in, she had to leave because of other commitments. So she did come in, she did discuss a few things before she did have to take off. And there was discussion about what they're trying to do, that they're trying to do some fundraisers and do some activities here in the middle of winter when most people are stuck inside, bouncing around ideas of what we can do to get, some community involvement and, maybe some sponsorship. And so there was discussion there. And it was, yes, it was held at Jackie B's, but, it was closed to the public. So it was, yes, again, it was at a bar, but it's just because you're at that.
They got a meeting room over there.
Is it?
Jackie B's in the back.
Yeah, you're right, they have a private banquet hall there, yes. We were out in the regular, right next to the bar, but there was no one else there. It was just,
That makes it different.
there was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of us there. So, it's a disappointment to me to hear though that you were hesitant that you don't want to go there.
Well, I've never been in Jackie B's at any meetings. I've always been in here, and I've been to a couple at the uptown bar, and there's people I know in Waverly, and they come over and start talking. Well, how can you talk about anything when you tell those people to get away from you?
Well,
I don't want to tell them that either, man.
I guess at that point though, I don't know, I guess.
And I didn't know the last meeting was at Jackie B's, nobody told me about it. And even the president, Melissa, president there, she never called me, she returned my telephone calls. So
I guess I can't speak for what she did.
Sure, I'd like to see a lot of businesses coming down, so we can get our tax base down.
Whatever happened, didn't they used to be here in the community center like that?
Used to,
I haven't gone for.
quite a while.
Yeah, but I'm just asking you, weren't they held here in the community center?
Yeah.
What's the
They
news
used to have,
station?
about 25, 30 people here.
I still get emails. I get emails all the time. I got an email today on a survey from the chamber.
But as to one of our privacy meeting places, and same for Tony.
Yes, Tony received one and they were sending out a survey monkey to use that to try and utilize to get more people involved. Is there a certain time of day, certain locations, certain things like that to go on to try and get more people involved with it? And I have had that discussion with Tony that if he is unavailable to go to them, that I would go to them in his place as a representative of our company and not a representative of the city council.
That's like when I go to these mayor conventions and stuff like that, we talk about different things and different business-wise and stuff like that, and I really enjoy talking to people like from up in Clearwater and Annandale, and all them places up there. They're nice people to talk to and everything. You know, for ideas of getting businesses and stuff.
My whole point of that discussion though was the fact that when we brought it up to you, all you sat there and said was the whole thing was a joke. And to me, that's just not good representation. So I'm gonna look for somebody that's going to go get some input, be a part of the discussion, and come back and give us some feedback. But as I said, the planning and zoning, I mean, I'm okay with Roy staying as planning and zoning because he does acknowledge that the planning commission.
Now, Wolf Products is moving out of Monroe, is it going to Waverly, back to industrial park?
Wolf Auto Parts, yes. Because it was not their financial ability to build in our industrial park that we can develop the sites that were available out here.
Yeah.
And so they are moving to Waverly because of,
Shingley's couldn't work with them, or what?
I was not involved any farther in that discussion with them. So I know that they were.
It's a shame, but what do you do?
Did you have any other discussion, Mark?
You are, I'm trying to say this delicately, and I don't mean anything by it, but it's harder to get a hold of you as far as like the survey monkey thing. You don't have a real email address to get these notifications. Get hold. So did you get, or maybe they don't have your, the chamber doesn't have your email address.
Like I said, the president hasn't called me back to discuss anything, you know. Because I just left a message today again for her, and we still got no message.
Okay.
But I got email.
If I'm correct, she does have an office here in town, correct?
Yeah, she said, thank you.
Yep.
She wasn't there today, I was talking to Tony.
Okay,
I mean, Joe.
okay.
Yeah, she's in the bank down there. I know who she is.
No, I don't have any more discussion.
But the only other thing now, in order to remove anybody from a committee or whatever, doesn't it have to take a representative of the committee to ask for someone to be dismissed?
That's for planning and zoning and park and rec.
Only for those two, that's the only reason why we have that. Maybe we wouldn't have that for everything.
Well, this is an appointment to outside committee. This is not, the chamber is not a committee of the city. So it's an appointment from the council to the chamber, which is different than a park and rec appointment or planning and zoning appointment.
Well, then I'll make a motion to put Roy back on the chamber and planning and zoning.
I'll second that for discussion.
Motion by Lloyd, second by Mark, put me back on chamber liaison, planning and zoning.
I have a question.
Right.
Shoot. If you were, I know this is after the fact, and the horse is already out the door, but if you would have been notified about the Japanese
I
meeting,
don't know when. Because I didn't know they had any meetings over there.
first meeting I attended, so I cannot speak about that because I don't know. So I have no further information about that.
And that's what Joe said today, that was the first time we had Jackie.
Okay. That's information that I was unaware of. But if they continue, if they do have it at Uptown Bar, are you going to go to the meetings then?
Well, I think they should have a place offset a little bit more so you ain't getting, people from the bar coming over, you know what I'm saying? It makes it kind of tough. You go in that place and people know you and they're coming over and start to grab them, you know, and talk. What are you supposed to do, tell them to get away from you?
I guess you have to tell them that I'm in the middle of a meeting right now, we can talk when I'm done.
I could probably do that.
Because I know there's times when I'm in conference calls and I have people coming in and trying to ask me questions and I have to stop them in the middle of it, apologize for my conference call that I'm on, and tell them that I'm in the middle of something, and when I get done, I will address the situation at that time.
Well, so I have to do that if we have meetings out there, but I'd like to see some meetings come back into the community center too.
Isn't it standard practice to kind of attend meetings at different locations within the businesses? Yeah, we just kind of go to each, different businesses within the community that the chamber's representing.
See, I don't know if Abby has any more meetings in her restaurant or not. I haven't seen nobody up there for a while.
But then when you come into a business like Craft Pattern, we don't serve food, we don't have, we're not a public type business. Do you still hold it there then too? Or do
Well, I'm
you-
just-
or do you-
Right, I'm saying like if you were to go to Reds or Jackie B's or the Uptown Bar, or Eddie's or the Taco
Well-
Ranch, you just, you frequent, as a chamber member, you frequent their businesses. Not necessarily your industrial businesses. So,
I just wanted some clarification there, because
Maybe put it on some computer.
yeah, maybe Tony will have sandwiches, I don't know.
yeah, I guess whatever you bring for buying from the candy machine.
So, but I mean, like I said, I'm okay with Roy if we keep it that way, but I think a more, more engagement is needed and in the chamber one, because the chamber is struggling, we all know that. And so to get somebody out there, I mean, I asked numerous times, Roy, did you talk to these people? No. Did you engage in what's going on? No. So I think more engagement needs to be happening, and if it's not coming from Roy, then I think it needs to change.
Yeah, but Michelle, I'd like to know why that lady, the chamber hired, her, why she quit. What happened in there? And I thought she was doing pretty good. But I got no answers on that either. Why she decided to hold out. So any other discussion? So, Clyde, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ben?
Are we voting on both? Or is it individual?
The motion is on both.
The motion is on both. As long as you're willing to attend them, Roy, and if you don't, please,
I'll let you know.
please let someone know.
I will.
Well, you'll be there anyway, Ben, right, to represent your company.
When Tony's not
It's
available.
not there.
So-
Well, Tony will be there, so
Well, but he's not a member of the city council.
you don't have to be a member. City
No, but
Council.
we're saying we want someone from the city council there. That if Roy's not gonna be there, he talked to someone else to attend it for him. And if Roy will do that, I will vote yes.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
If you attend these meetings, Roy, is it gonna be in a positive manner?
Well, yes, I want to see more businesses so we can get our tax base down. That's why I can't believe Wolf Motors is moving out of town. I couldn't believe it when I heard that.
And then you will have more discussion
Oh, yeah,
with the people and bring back information back to the council?
right.
I'll vote yes.
Yes, motion carried 5-0. Thank you. On-street parking ordinance. Michelle?
That was me. That was back a year ago. I really don't have any discussion now. I make a motion to take it off the agenda. Or not to, we don't need to have discussion.
Table.
Bring it back. We don't need to table it.
Remove from the agenda.
Remove it, yeah.
Okay, then we got exercise classes, Jennifer Nelson.
Yes, Mayor Council, this is my item here that was hopefully shared all down in your packages at the council table when we came in. And as you know, we've been discussing this now for a little bit of time, and basically my goal was to just ensure that we have something in the record that states that this is going to be a public benefited activity. And the only reason for that is the city has been proposed to not charge for the rental of the community center for these classes. So that's essentially like you're spending money on these classes because you're foregoing revenue that you would otherwise receive from the rental of this facility. So just to cover all the bases, I drafted this, I just called this certificate of public benefit. I'll read it quickly here for the record. Just the City Council of the City of Montrose proclaims as follows. Whereas the city owns a community center located here, and this community center is maintained and operated for the benefit of the city, its residents, and interested members of the public. And from time to time, the council is asked to allow nonprofit organizations, loosely affiliated groups, and individuals to use the community center at low cost or no cost. And allowing the community center to be used at low cost or no cost is the equivalent of the city spending money on such activity as the city is giving up revenue to which it would otherwise be entitled. And the council recognizes as a matter of state constitutional law and state statute that it may expend public money only for public purposes, which historically has meant that the activity will benefit the community as a body. The activity is directly related to functions of government, but the activity does not have as its primary object the benefit of the private interest. And in addition to the above criteria, the council recognizes that public purposes generally promote the public health, safety, general welfare, security, prosperity, and contentment for all residents. And state statutes additionally allow municipalities to be involved and expend money on public recreation programs. And the council has been approached by a representative on behalf of the Refit Exercise Program to allow for the use of the community center on a semi-regular basis for the program at no cost. And the council has allowed the use of the community center by the program on an interim basis and finds the program has potential to involve members of the community in a worthwhile public recreation program. And without further liability to the city for the use of the community center, the city is interested to continue to allow the program to utilize the community center on a semi-regular basis to conduct the program. Not proud of that last sentence, poorly worded. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Montrose, Minnesota, the program may use the community center on a semi-regular basis at no cost. The program's events confer a public benefit to the city and its residents, and such that the city may expend public money on the operation of the program. But like I stated, you're not spending money on your own revenue, you're just foregoing revenue that you would perhaps otherwise get because of the rental. Number two, neither the program nor any of its participants shall hold the city liable in any manner for any injuries as a result of the holding of program events in the community center. Number three, the city may revoke the program's use of the community center or may charge program participants for the use of the community center at any time. And that's just at your discretion that you would be able to do that since you have the ultimate authority over how the community center is operated and maintained. But it seems that the intent of council throughout this whole process is to allow the use of this facility at no cost to this group. And that just be dated today, it's signed by the mayor and the city administrator, and then that would just be in our file to cover all bases for anyone coming back and saying, how can you allow this at no charge? So that's what I prepared for you this evening.
I need to clarify a couple questions. So then, if the program or any of its participants cannot hold the city liable in any manner, we carry personal insurance, so that
Correct, yeah, we would not want anyone to sue the city for the use of this center. The city is under its own insurance requirements to maintain this facility.
Okay, that would be my question, is that if there was a broken sidewalk and someone tripped on that on their way to class,
Yes.
how is that?
And that's always, that's always potential claims against the city. If you walked into this facility and a piece of the roof fell and hit somebody in the head and the same thing, you're not, that's sort of outside of your program activities. That's outside of the reason why you're having this facility at no cost. So that would be on the city's insurance policy anyway. And we'd have to deal with that policy and whether your city's liable or not on a separate manner.
And then the other question I would have would be that the city can revoke the program's use or charge the participants at any time. I would just ask that we would be able to have advance notice so that if you would like to charge us, then we can contact our participants and say, you know, they've decided to charge us a fee. Are you guys willing to pay to come to class, or do we need to look at a different avenue? I guess that would be my only concern, is that if it was going to be canceled, or that we would need to be paying for it, we would have some advance notice.
I think it's a fair request, that we do it in a professional manner. I mean, it's obvious, okay, if you guys are coming in here destroying things or whatever. I don't see that happening, but, obviously then at that point, yes, I do see the, immediate, yes, that we can terminate. But okay, if something was coming up where scheduling conflicts consistently,
Okay.
then it would be dealt with in a professional manner.
I think it's reasonable to have a 30-day notice time frame in there. So that's a good point. And yeah, I think the whole intent for this number 3 would be to not lock the city into some long-term obligation that they have to, you have a right to use this at the time for free. And we
I just want to make sure that it's not going to be on my end, that, okay, we don't want you in there anymore, you don't get to hold class tonight. And would be my concern, is because there are so many people that do travel, and it's hard to contact everyone last minute. That would just be my concern.
So I think we could add in a 30-day notice requirement that we would give to whom, I guess. I guess that's another.
You would give it to me, because as of the middle of October, I will be taking over classes in this location.
How is the class going?
Which class?
This class, how's this class going? Is it still on the way up, or is it?
I've
Hold on,
had
it's all over.
3 or 4 people have asked me since the classes have stopped, when do we get to do this again? What's the status? And I said, it's kind of with state council right now. They still have to lawyer ease, make it work. Sorry.
Lawyer it up.
Yes, they have to lawyer it up. And so there is still some interest.
So your feeling is that you would at least be back on par if it.
My hope would be that, especially as we head in towards winter, when you talked about where everybody's kind of stuck inside, that it's a good, convenient place to be. It's right in town. And my hope is that, especially moving in towards winter, people will see it as just a quick hour to get out. Summertime has always been kind of down for all classes, no matter location. So I'm hoping that, like I said, as we move towards winter, it'll pick up again. That being said, now that school is starting to roll, some of the moms are starting to get their schedules figured out, and they're able to kind of plan. Unfortunately, as of right now, our schedule has dwindled to we can hold a morning class or a Friday night class, which is kind of where we run into some scheduling issues, which I can talk to you about.
Yeah, Friday, we rent out the community center for $300.
I know, it's just like, no.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, okay, well, maybe we should talk about, do we just not hold it until the end of October? Do we just kind of do informational, pass out flyers? Or do we try to have a 6 o'clock meeting once a week or twice a month? I guess what
the end of October?
Yes, yeah, because my schedule is much different than hers.
Okay.
Right now, she's the only instructor in the state, and so she's, oh, I take that back, like 4 weeks ago, we got a new one. But, and so she's already traveling to Monticello, to Hutchinson, and so she can only do so many workouts in a week. And right now, all she really has left is like a Tuesday morning or a Wednesday morning at 6 o'clock. Or like I said, Friday night, but we don't do that $300 rental fee. And so I guess, what is your opinion on, do we wait until the end of October and try to get more interest and put it into paper maybe and try to get more community awareness and then start at the end of October? Or do we start holding the morning classes now?
The morning class being 6 a.m.
Yes. I know, I'm not happy about that either.
Once October rolls around, then is your times, you would have different
Yes,
time
once October,
availability?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Would you go
because-
back to the Tuesdays at 9 and the Thursdays at 7 or whatever?
Yeah, that's certainly open to the group of ladies that come. I generally would try to figure out, you know, okay, is 7:30 too late? Maybe we move it to 6:30. But I would like to see it twice a week. And being as this is kind of this is the only place that I will be taking over as of right now, I'm free to do that. I'm free to say, yes, I can do it 2 days a week.
And the few that have contacted you since it stopped, are they residents of Montrose or outside of town?
Both.
Okay.
2 residents, 1 from Buffalo.
Have you asked them if they would be interested in the 6 o'clock one?
I can tell you they would not.
I think rather than starting something and then not
And then
staying with that time would be more difficult than just saying effective this date, this, promote that.
Yeah, I would say, I would agree with that. Start at the end of, beginning of November.
Whatever works for your schedule, yeah.
Yeah, get your schedule intact and then you won't have to change it again.
Okay. So just my thought was, do we do that so that we can stay with the one schedule? Or do we continue to have one class so that there is some way for,
Getting it filled in.
Well, if nobody's gonna come, what's the point?
that is true, so then, I don't know.
I guess I would defer to you, because, you're in contact with the people that are here. We're trying to support you within the constraints of the schedule of the community center.
Right.
And so, I would defer to your judgment on that.
Okay, so then that being said, can I go from this meeting and go contact the ladies in the community and say, if I were to open a 6 o'clock class, would you be interested? And if, there's a couple, 3 or 4, I do have to say that the early morning classes generally tend to be very small. People don't want to get up at 5:30.
Well, their kids get ready to sleep and stuff too.
Right, and we had talked about, it's hard because we could do it later after all the kids go to school, but then we have school. Then Laura and I both homeschool, so we have school and we can't, we're basically teachers, so we can't put our school aside.
So why don't you just coordinate sometimes with Wendy and see if it works out?
Okay, I could definitely do that.
And then if you would continue to give Wendy feedback on if that class catches on, or, if you're gonna go back to the other classes so that we don't have to, or if you wanna come, give us updates, like quarterly or something like that too, because
Okay, yeah, I think that would be
I think
fair.
as long as you're communicating with Wendy as far as the dates, and so we can get that feedback too, so that we know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I've already made the 30-day change that you're talking about. I'll give you
tell you what, I,
Dropped off until we get the new.
I've kind of covered a lot of things that I was gonna discuss, so I think maybe we can just forget about that right now.
Then we'll move on to the budget levy.
We prepared, this is the proposed levy. As you're aware, after this is submitted, we have till the end of the year to go through it, change it, reduce it. We cannot increase it. I put together a little explanation on what this budget includes. It's a 5% increase over last year, which is $44,000. And it includes an increase in hourly wage for Wright County Sheriff's Department, increase of $12,000 in the public works area, which is really electric, street maintenance, gas and oil. $92,000 for the regional park, and the increase is between, we were going to budget $75,000, but we put a little extra in there, so that difference of $17,000. Is that right? We added $25,000 for an electronic information sign. And we put in $9,300 for an outdoor patio here. Now, obviously, all those can be reduced, removed, whatever. That's where the 5% increase came from. What we can't reduce is the cost for police protection and the public works increases. Those other things are optional. So it's a 5% increase. It'll take some work and we can go through it. I think I recommend later in the agenda, recommend a budget workshop after the election. So those people that will be new to the council, they couldn't vote, but they could at least listen to the discussion, the budget discussion.
Keep in mind too that the things that Barb listed, I mean, that's what, that brought it up to 5%. However, that doesn't mean that between now and the end of the year, we say we're gonna put $92,000 in the regional park project. But if something happened between now and the end of the year and Sean knows he has to fix a street come January or February, that we can move that money around within the budget
Right.
between now and the end of the year. So none of this is definite, this is all preliminary. And you always go in a little bit higher because you can't bring it, like Barb said, you can't raise it afterwards. You can always lower it, but you can't raise it. So if something were to come up, at least then we have the money budgeted for it.
I understand that. My question is, it has never been called regional park before, it's just been budgeted for parks, correct? Like, last year it was 70,
That's-
60.
No, last year we budgeted $74,000 for the regional park. And then we have the park operational fund, and then we have the regional park fund. It's like park development.
Okay.
And that's where we were budgeting it in for the regional
So
park.
when we put it in Pheasant Hills Park, that money isn't fighting for regional park.
When we put the Pheasant Hills Park in, that came out of that park development fund, but it was money that was still left over from development, when the developers paid money.
This is LGA money.
This is LGA money that we're getting from the state.
But then, are we gonna be able to use any of that money to improve the parks we've already got?
We have an operational fund to do that with.
Because, you know, a lot of people say, gee, why build another park? We'd like to have a swing set or something in our park, and, you know.
So this $92,000 for the regional park project,
That's over and above our regular park fund. That's
How much
the,
is the regular park fund?
If you go to the second page.
go to this page.
And I'll bring it up on the screen. If you go to that page, see where it says parks and it says 230,201? That is the operations and the regional parks. And then it says 136,000,
Yeah.
that is LGA money.
Okay.
So 92,000 of it would go in the regional park, the rest of it would go to the park operation fund. So what the levy actually is 94,126, and that is the operations fund to pay, to run the park system, to pay the
Tell me
public
that
works
again,
guys.
this is the last part, the levy part of that is what?
Where it says the certified levy, it says 94,126.
Okay, yeah.
That is strictly for park operations that we have, you know, for the mowing the lawn, paying our summer help, paying our public works guys that work in the parks, paying the insurance for the parks, all of that kind of stuff. So there's nothing being levied for the regional park. That's all LGA money that's going for the regional park.
It says 92,000 for the regional park.
That's right here, that comes, this LGA column, that 92,000 is in that 136.
Right, but, okay. I wrote down some thoughts on a piece of paper here. Let me get through this and then we can talk about that.
Okay.
Since the very beginning of the regional park idea, myself and most of the members of the council have insisted that we continue with this project under certain conditions. A, not raising taxes at this time. And B, town hall style meetings would be called by council to take the temperature, so to speak, of Montrose about certain developments that may arise in the future, i.e. raising taxes for certain stage development. Thus stressing the importance of future town hall meetings. That being said, I when it says $92,000 for regional park project and it's an increase on the levy, I feel like I'm going, oh my God, that I don't like the wording of that. You know, I'm
Yeah, right, I
I'm
get
having
that.
trouble with it.
I can honestly tell you though that the park operations fund alone is $137,750 for the budget. That's to run the park system we have now. We're only levying 94,126 of that 137,000. The rest is coming from LGA, along with the 92,000 that's going for the regional park. So we're really not taxing anybody for it.
Then I would really feel comfortable if we didn't say $92,000 for the regional park project. And then to continue on, most of the council, I feel that it does not want an electronic sign at City Hall, but I know that staff does, and I'm more in support of a shared sign with the fire department on Highway 12. And I know that this is open, this electronic sign, but I know that we haven't had discussions about that. And in the patio outside the community center, we've never even had a council discussion about that. I think we may have had a discussion about that at personnel committee, but I don't think we've had it at council. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think technically a patio discussion, but I know we have discussed numerous times about taking care of out here, because like Roy said, you know, they're taking the throwing rocks and throwing rocks at the bell, but then also because of the, after it rains, correct me, Sean, does it not kind of turn into a little bit of a mud hole out here?
Not since the.
Not since the hours have been put in.
Okay.
Actually, I think the mayor brought it up a couple of meetings ago about a patio out there, and I thought Mark had too. But these are just, nothing is set in stone, you know?
They can always be removed.
Right. This, this was a 5% increase. These were a couple of the items. These can be all removed, they can be changed. We haven't had a budget meeting to talk about specifics, so if the city council doesn't want an electronic sign, obviously that won't be part of the final budget.
I personally would like to see an electronic
Yeah.
sign, but I would like to coordinate that with the fire department.
Sure.
And, they're in the process of getting feedback on where they're putting the sign.
Right.
Highway 12 would be one.
They feel and I feel that it would reach more Montrose.
these were just some items that we, listed that we thought, we could talk about when we go to the budget meeting. Like I said, generally you go in anywhere from 5 to 10% higher on your preliminary budget, and then between now and December, we have the, budget meetings and bring it down to where you want to see it and what you want to see done.
Yeah, I understand that, but I still can't support it right now with the regional park project.
Well, this is really, this is just some things we put out there, this doesn't go to county or anything, so it's like Barb said, it's nothing set in stone.
I'm
Yeah,
sure a lot of
but you
residents
need-
would like to see that money go towards fixing up the streets.
And you can, if that's your discussion at the budget meeting.
Set up just for any excess we might have.
Well, I believe that the discussion was $75,000 a year to the regional park fund out of the LGA, and we had an increase this year in LGA, so we put the increase into the regional park fund.
I didn't know that there was an increase. I know that there was an increase coming, I didn't know where it
I mean, as far as 75,000 every year.
Yes, that's been discussed.
Around that, yeah, I thought it was like 70 that was gonna go towards the regional park, and I asked the same question you did, is clarifying it, how does it get broken apart from, like, say, Northridge Park, if that needs a repair or something fixed, or how does that differentiate from the regional park? Which I'm still not.
Because I know our roads are, they get kind of bad in a lot of areas. So I would like to see that money go to fixing the roads.
Well, at a budget meeting, when we have our budget workshop, if that's what the city council wants to do with those funds, then they can put them in that area and have it set aside for that.
I'd like to see our police protection and hours cut back a little bit
Well, we have a contract with the Wright County Sheriff's
for
Department
this year.
for next year through 2015.
Just have to hold off on that, I guess.
Hopefully this new software that they have is going to be able to give us more strategic numbers as far as how many daytime stops, how many nighttime stops, where we can maybe ask them to apply themselves more or change some things.
So then on the levy, what do you propose? Table it till we have a budget workshop?
We can't table it.
We can't.
Has to be approved. This is the
Has to be
proposed
passed.
levy. This is not the final levy.
Okay,
So,
it's gotta be done by September 30th. Right?
Yes. It's got to be received by the county.
Right, Colin.
So if you want to change it, you could say, you could change it by an amount. Like this is 5% above last year. And at the budget workshop, you can redistribute it as you see fit, and you can reduce it. So if you don't want it, if you want a 0% increase, then we can reduce the overall budget by that $44,000. And if you want to take it out of parks or out of the community center, or wherever you want to take, I guess it'd be too much, that's the whole budget for the community center. But you can reduce, by department what you want to do, so.
Well, I know since we put the eave trough out here on that north side, we ain't got a problem with all that stuff out here anymore. And I noticed the rocks ain't been thrown around like they used to be thrown around out there.
I'll make a motion to approve this preliminary levy and budget as presented to us with, knowing that we can lower this and redistribute the monies as us 5 council members see fit.
I'll second that.
Motion by Van, second by Michelle to close this levy and lower it if we see fit. Johnson, how do you vote?
No.
Were you gonna ask if there's any further discussion there?
Any further discussion on Ben's proposal?
Or do you,
Yeah, if you can help me figure out a way not to say regional park project,
well,
you got my support. If not, you can't.
There's a lot of feedback that I got when the regional park started, a lot of people say, gee, we don't need another park in town.
but I mean, this is granted, this is preliminary. And I understand what you're saying, and that's something that we, have to let people know that this is preliminary, this isn't final, this isn't set in stone, this is just a rough draft, because we can lower what we're going to, we can lower the amounts, we can redistribute the amounts, but we just can't raise it. And
This makes it look like we're raising taxes and the regional park is part of the reason why.
why it's being raised.
And
Well, it's
there's
gonna be in any
there's a-
budget.
There's a principle to this thing that I tried to explain when I made my statement, and I guess I have to stick to that. Otherwise, I can't put myself in the mirror.
Well, it's not really being raised by the regional park.
I understand that, but,
That's not the percentage.
but how many people am I gonna meet
That
tomorrow
perceive it
that
as.
don't get that?
So
And that's what I'm asking for you guys to help for. You figure out a way to reword this, and then I could be swayed. But, to make it look like this, it's just,
So if we did a motion to approve the preliminary levy and budget with a 5% increase,
We'd still have to, we'd have to vote the current motion down and then recreate a motion.
the problem is that the budget is going to include money for the regional park.
But he's just saying he doesn't want to see the increase on that line item.
it's gonna
Why
be no
can't we
matter
just say
what.
it's the park fund?
He's saying if last year, if the regional park line item said 75,000, that's the same as 75,000 this year, and taking this extra money
Well, we can do that.
and move it over into the general park.
Well, you can put it wherever you want, to streets or wherever, This is the proposed levy, and in the proposed levy, it includes these things. It also includes a lot of other things, It includes $50,000 for street repair. It includes a new plow truck. It includes, many other things besides this item.
But see, like with regional park, when a guy comes up $92,000 for regional park, is telling people we sticking all this money into these parks,
Well,
what's going on?
So, you can't really type up a levy when you're going to put $230,000 into parks. I can't really present that without telling the city council that we're spending the money there. If you don't, I don't really, I don't know what you would, that's where it
The
is.
LGA don't insist that we have to put it in parks.
We use the LGA, we use $400,000 $577,876 in local government aid. 400 is going to the general fund, 136,000 to parks, 25,000 to capital improvement, 9,300 to the community center, and 7,500 to the EDA. So that's money we're getting. Our budget's in this column. In addition, we expect other revenue totaling 92,000, leaving a total levy of 935,000, which is 5% over last year. You can go by line item and you can say, well, let's see, in 2014, in the revenue budget, we increased it by 8,000. In parks, we increased it by 34,000. No increase in debt service. No increase in capital improvement. No increase in community center. $3,000 increase in EDA. No increase in the highway department. So the increase came from parks and revenue. You know, I'm not sure what to tell you. I mean, that's where the increases are.
We can change it. I mean, if it,
Yeah,
you know,
we can
Mark, if
change
you
it.
want, you can direct us to change this so that Parks doesn't show that $92,000, you know, it doesn't show 92 for the regional park, that it shows 75, and we can move it up into the general fund for now. We can move it anywhere, just, you know, if you want to go in with a 5% increase just to have some cushion there till we discuss it, we can move that. I mean, you can make a motion or direct us to move it someplace else,
Absolutely.
you know,
Can't we put it on the roads?
you would just put it in the general fund.
Sure, that would go into the
It
revenue.
would go into the revenue, go into the first line.
That's
So
where
you could-
roads are.
You know, we can decrease that parks back down to whatever, we said 92 down to 75, so it would be 18,000, 17,000, and move it up into the general fund.
And then address it later as part of the LGA fund.
And review it at when we have our budget meeting.
So we can move the LGA from parks up to the revenue, you know,
Sure.
increase that 400,000 and decrease the parks one, and, I mean, we can do that, you can direct us to do that. And really what you're voting on now is the bottom line, so, you know, where you want to go in at to the
That's
bottom
right.
number.
I understand that.
And you can direct us to change anything on there.
But also, you know, you were here, I sat here, and I told a room full of people that we weren't gonna raise taxes. And I realized that we're not technically
Yeah.
raising taxes.
So we can lower it there and move it up to the other
I
line.
think that's a really good idea, Wendy.
So how do we get out of, now we gotta get out of this motion?
We have to
Vote it down.
Can you just rescind it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I tried.
Can't you just withdraw? You can just.
I'll withdraw my motion.
If you and Michelle withdraw, you can just withdraw. So if you agree to do that,
Okay, I withdraw my motion.
Okay,
and Michelle agrees to that.
agrees.
Okay.
So basically, all we're doing is agreeing to the 5% increase. These were just examples of where the money could go. And we could change it to go with the $92,000 for regional parks, just back down to
Fine.
$75,000.
Whatever it is.
Put the remainder of the money into the general fund. I wasn't keen on the $25,000 electrical side, but that could possibly move back into the general fund,
Sure.
as does the community center, put all the money back into the general fund, just an increase of 5%.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion though?
Sure.
That I know what you're saying, and eliminating the sign and stuff is fine. I don't know that you want to move all that LGA back into your general fund though.
Okay.
Leaving your capital improvement up higher and leaving some of that money in your capital improvement, because if you rely on all that LGA in your general fund and you don't levy very much for it, and now your LGA gets cut.
That's still proposed.
Yeah, but I mean,
When we get to
But
the
it's
final, we
already
don't want
cut
to leave
for
too much
this
in
year,
the
though,
general
right?
fund.
yeah, I mean, so you
Right,
can,
when we do the final, then we'll space it out as to where
Okay.
it needs to go. Correct? That's what it would be? We're good? So, was that a motion? Or do I have to reword that?
Yes, I think we should start it over with that.
Okay,
And, but you, I mean, you can't say, oh, you don't have to say all the numbers, just.
okay. So my motion then is to approve the preliminary levy and budget of 5% increase, with the exception of moving the $92,000 from regional park back down to $75,000 and putting the remainder into the general fund.
Fine.
Good?
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Michelle, second by Ben, to remove 92,000 regional park, and go to 72,000, put them back in the general fund. Right?
75,000.
75. Lloyd, how do you vote?
I'm still gonna vote no.
Michelle?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
And then I'm gonna vote no. Motion carried 3-2.
Thanks for helping me out with that. I can be a pain, but it's like, you understand where I come from.
Okay, then we got a meeting schedule.
We're moving, right?
Pardon me?
Are we moving on?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're moving to September 16th, special meeting to approve MinDOT agreement.
We have a EDA meeting that night as well, which is next Tuesday night. And we were waiting for MinDOT to give us the project number and finish up the agreement. So I hope you're agreeable to meeting at half an hour early, because we're gonna meet at 6 for EDA. Meet at 5:30 for a special meeting and to review that MinDOT contract.
So the last time council just approved the grant application, and now we got that, so now we have to approve.
The contract,
Okay.
yes.
And
And
we
we'll
don't
have-
have it yet, but we'll be getting it right then.
Yes, and we'll also have the plans for the planting, right? So there's that. And then, I don't know that we need to hold a meeting on September 22nd. But I'd also like the council to schedule a budget workshop ahead of the November meeting. And maybe that's not enough time, maybe you'll want more time to review the budget. That's just like an hour and 15 minutes, so you'll have to decide that.
So that's an hour before the normal council meeting to discuss the budget?
Right. Want to have another night?
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
just took
know.
up a half an hour, so possibly.
Well, we don't have to do that one. Really, what I need permission for tonight is the September 16th meeting, which is next Tuesday, and to cancel the 22nd.
So really, we're doing is bumping the EDA meeting up a half an hour.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 16.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
I believe November 10th is Veterans Day.
No, it's the 11th.
And it's gonna be 5:30.
At City Hall.
Roy, you're on the Highway 12 redevelopment, right?
Yep.
Any feedback? Is there anything that?
Well,
We
you
can.
know, the attending, they're gonna have, once we get this grant, we're gonna start planning on it.
Right, but I mean, there's people participating in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because maybe that grant is here before we start it.
Right.
And that budget workshop, now, what are we gonna consist of that part?
All we can do is as much detail as you want, you know, but we just have to make sure we have enough time to do it, so you tell me.
Well, I'd say whatever
We could have that the 22nd.
We should have it after the election. So,
So that new members, that's why she did it.
But we don't have to hold it on a council meeting night, it can be.
no, it could be another
It
night.
could be, you could hold a different night, if you want more time.
And we don't have to decide tonight either.
Yeah. Look at your schedule.
Well, how much time do you think we need, Michelle? Is that what your concern?
Well, I mean, it just took us 20 minutes to go through three things. So,
That was my.
well, I know, but I mean, if there's gonna be discussion as to where it goes, it's gonna be more than an hour.
Yeah. But the one thing I don't want to do is hold a special meeting that
To
costs the
charge
city
more money,
money.
right?
Right, do you agree, Lloyd? We don't want to hold a special meeting for this. We'd like to fit it in, like you said, like the second meeting, and then the second meeting of November, that's Thanksgiving, so that's not going to work. So I was just wondering if we could, if we don't get it all in an hour and a half. I mean,
On verification not available.
oh, okay, well, that's
So,
not an important thing.
What did you say?
He's not available.
I'm not available
On the 10th?
on the 10th. I have prior engagements.
So we can decide that next month, can we?
Sure.
Yep, I'll make a motion for September 16th, 5:30 special meeting to approve the MinDOT agreement and to cancel the regularly scheduled council meeting for September 22nd.
Second.
Motion by Ben, second by Mark, hold the 5:30 meeting with MinDOT and cancel the meeting on September 22nd. Ben, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
And vote aye, motion carried 5-0. And we got acknowledgements. I'd like to acknowledge Sean for finding that truck that the city can use, and I know it's gonna be a big help to the city. And I'd like to acknowledge Pat for all the grass cutting and taking care of the compost out there.
I would also like to, if I may, Mr. Mayor, acknowledge Pat for all his volunteering efforts. He's helped us out with the department this summer and continues to do. It's been very noticed and greatly appreciated.
Yeah, that goes for me too. Thank you.
I was just actually at a residence home and they talked about going down the compost pile, how friendly or helpful your are. So thank you for that.
I'd like to just make an acknowledgement, Sean and his crew, I've worked with these guys, even with my disabilities, since April. We have got probably the best public works crew I have ever seen in this area. Living in Dassel, living in Cokato, owning homes there. These guys never have a set day. Their day is whatever happens the day before that. And I have to acknowledge Sean as a very, very good supervisor to his men and also to the residents in this town, the taxpayers. This man works endlessly to try to save the taxpayers the utmost amount of money he can. And his guys sometimes work with very little, and I have seen this, but yet they get the job done. They don't bid things out like other communities, so hats off to Sean. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for, I'll tell the group.
Thank you.
Any other acknowledgements?
I'd like to acknowledge the Montrose Day Committee for doing a great job of pulling together a last-minute Montrose Day celebration after some great disappointment in the people who they had a contract with and decided to violate their contract. Just give them a great hand that they had Plan B in line, and Plan C came through by luck of the draw and just being at the right place at the right time. I also want to thank Melissa for her continued effort with the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, and keep going.
I'm gonna thank Corey Potter with Royalty. Ben and I attended the Royalty brunch, and we heard nothing but good stuff as to how every year that all the surrounding royalty comes back. They really look forward to that Royalty brunch, and Corey does such a good job with her and her committee. So I want to acknowledge Corey with the ambassadors. Montrose Day, as Ben said, they really came through with a tough weekend that they were looking forward to, but they pulled it through, so I do want to acknowledge them for that.
Kimberly.
Oh, Kimberly Buckley, yesterday she is with the House of Grace, and she organized a volunteer group to go around here in town, and we met at 11:30, got done at 4:30, just went knocking on doors, asking people if they needed help with, weeding, lawn mowing, just moving brush, just anything that they needed help with. So we went through and cleared up Lions Park, Veterans Park, 2 or 3 houses here along 7th Avenue, homes down in Mobile Home Park. So I want to acknowledge Kimberly for putting that together.
Want to announce open gym?
Oh yeah, open gym starts October Monday, 6th, correct? That first Monday? October 6th, we're from 6 to 8, Monday to Wednesdays. Kids under 12, we supervision, 12 and older is fine to attend. Oh, the Lions, working hard getting, because they actually exceeded their, at Montrose Day this year, first time sellout in many years of their chicken dinner and their turkey legs. And the fire department for another record-breaking pork chop dinner.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Everybody in favor?